On August 8, 1944, close to Saintes and south of Caen in Normandy, France, the leather from Hauptmann Michael Wittmann's commander's gloves made a soft creak while he clutched the cupola of Tiger 07, peering at the hedgerow-dotted skyline via his Zeiss binoculars. His fingers shook, not out of terror, but due to an insight that had grown steadily since daybreak. They just kept arriving. For the love of God. The onslaught never paused. Over the past 3 hours, his unit of 4 Tiger tanks had taken out Sherman after Sherman. 27 smoldering wrecks dotted the countryside near Confalls Road. Every Tiger had notched at least 6 victories. According to all the tactical principles drilled into him at the Panzertruppen-Schule, they were dominating the fight. The kill ratio stood at an impressive almost 7-to-1. Still, peering through his lenses, Wittmann spotted 48 additional Shermans pushing forward from 3 separate angles, new formations with untouched operators and loaded ammo stores. In their wake, rising clouds of dirt hinted at scores more on the way. His quartet of Tigers shared maybe 12 armor-piercing shells altogether. Fuel reserves were too low for big movements, and no reinforcements were in sight. The equation of total destruction wasn't unfolding in single-vehicle clashes anymore. It hinged on output figures that made battlefield genius pointless. What unfolded before Wittmann's eyes, and what countless German tank leaders would see on all fronts, wasn't warfare, but a stark lesson in manufacturing numbers that would overwhelm the Wehrmacht through overwhelming volume alone. In mere moments, Michael Wittmann would perish. His famed Tiger would fall to a Sherman Firefly from the 1st Northampton Championry or Canadian troops. Scholars argue over the exact culprit even today. Yet, his last radio message, recorded at 12:47 hours, summed up the hopelessness felt by every German crewman confronting U.S. output. Munition, Asht Gagner, unbead ammunition, exhausted enemy unlimited. The tale of German tank dominance kicked off on May 26, 1941, at the Berghof Hitler's Alpine hideaway. Ferdinand Porsche, along with Henschel and Son, unveiled their models for the vehicle destined to evolve into the Tiger tank. Captivated by the huge 88mm cannon and plating that Allied armor couldn't breach, Hitler promptly greenlit mass production. "This machine," he proclaimed to the gathered officers, "equates to an entire company of standard tanks. A single Tiger could wipe out 12 foe machines. The Führerbefehl, Führer command that ensued, shaped Germany's disastrous error. Superior craftsmanship would prevail against numbers. Every Tiger stood as an engineering gem, meticulously assembled by expert laborers, unbeatable in combat. The Americans," Hitler confided to his aides, lacked the prowess to rival German ingenuity. Their vehicles were mere, as propaganda chief Goebbels put it, Detroit tin cans on treads. The initial Tiger emerged from the assembly line at Henschel's Castle plant on August 4, 1942. It demanded 300,000 labor hours to finish. The team had incorporated 26,000 separate components. Expert artisans had carefully installed the gearbox by hand. Talented welders devoted days to the protective plating. Just the overlapping road wheel setup, an engineering wonder that handled the vehicle's 57-ton mass, needed exacting construction feasible only for seasoned hands. Oberst Wolfgang Tomala, observing the debut tests at Kumdorf, noted in his assessment, "This beast embodies the height of German technology. No adversary can withstand it. Should we manufacture 100 monthly, victory is assured." Germany never hit 100 Tigers in a single month. The peak output after 2 years of refinements came in April 1944 with 104 units. By that point, U.S. plants were churning out twos and Shermans each month. The narrative of American tank manufacturing started not from strategic blueprints, but a simple phone conversation. On May 28, 1940, William Cudson, ex-chief of General Motors, got a ring from President Roosevelt. "Bill," the leader urged, "head to Washington. We must turn out 50,000 aircraft and 50,000 armored vehicles." Cudson's reply laid out the core of U.S. manufacturing mindset. "Mr. President, we won't craft the finest aircraft or tanks, but we will make the greatest quantity of them, designed so any farm boy from Iowa could repair them using just a wrench and screwdriver." The Sherman tank sprang from that approach. During a planning session at Aberdeen Proving Ground on August 31, 1940, Army Ordnance outlined specs that appalled conventional arms designers, yet thrilled auto industry pros from Detroit. Components straightforward for novice assemblers to handle, parts swappable across models, power plants adaptable to various fuels, shielding panels suited for straightforward welding over intricate shaping, treads that operators could swap out right in the field. A spacious turret base ready for later improvements. Major General Gladian Barnes, overseeing Army Ordnance, addressed the gathered firms. "I don't want a perfect tank. I want a good enough tank that we can build 1,000 of them for every 100 the Germans construct it to be dependable, repairable, and producible in vast quantities by the thousands." This stark difference in manufacturing approaches between Germany and the United States shone through clearly in their respective facilities. Over at Henschel's Castle facility, around 9,000 expert laborers toiled away crafting Tigers. The production area resembled an enormous version of a bygone era's artisan workshop. Seasoned artisans oversaw novices. Virtually every tank got assembled by hand. Employees inscribed their signatures on finished parts, deriving deep satisfaction from their skilled work. Entitier Franz Lehart, who toiled at the castle site prior to his conscription, would later reminisce. "We dedicated 3 full days solely to the final drive setup. Each gear underwent scrutiny via micrometers. Every joint was examined thrice. We applied serial numbers manually with paint. This wasn't high-volume output. It was artistry." In stark opposition, Chrysler's Detroit Tank Arsenal, which commenced operations on September 15, 1941, presented an entirely altered scene. Spanning 1.25 million square feet, it dwarfed the combined space of every German tank plant. Rather than elite artisans, the staff included ex-auto industry folks, homemakers, young adults, and basically anyone capable of mastering a riveter or welder. Rose Willil Monroe, destined to embody Rosie the Riveter, contributed to Sherman assembly there. She would subsequently recount her time on the job. "I'd never laid eyes on a tank until I began constructing them. After just 2 days of instruction, they stationed us at the assembly line. The whole operation got simplified into basic tasks. I'd fuse one joint, the vehicle advanced, and another person handled the subsequent weld. We completed an entire tank within 4 hours." The Detroit Tank Arsenal accomplished what German designers deemed unfeasible: conveyor belt-style tank fabrication. Drawing from car-making methods, Chrysler specialists divided the Sherman into interchangeable sections. Parallel lines handled subunits, which then converged for the ultimate integration. From initial steel sheets to a ready tank, the cycle spanned just 48 hours. Come December 1942, the output data painted a picture that German leaders dismissed as implausible. Solely from the Detroit Tank Arsenal, they churned out 896 Shermans each month, over twice the estimates in numerous German spy assessments. Nationwide in the U.S., 11 plants were manufacturing Shermans. Detroit Tank Arsenal, Chrysler, 896 monthly by December 1942. Grand Blanc Tank Arsenal, Fisher Body, 385 monthly. Lima Locomotive Works, 165 monthly. Press Steel Car Company, 320 monthly. Pacific Car and Foundry, 280 monthly. Federal Machine and Welder, 240 monthly. American Locomotive Company, 310 monthly. Baldwin Locomotive Works, 205 monthly. Pullman Standard Car Company, 385 monthly. Montreal Locomotive Works Canada, 180 monthly. Angus Shops Canada, 145 monthly. Overall monthly output by December 1942 approximated 3,500 Sherman tanks. During that same time frame, German Tiger monthly output stood at 34 tanks. The disparity reached 103.1. General Major Heinz Guderian, overseer of Panzer forces, encountered these stats via intel briefs in January 1943. His journal notation was brief. Should these figures hold even partial validity, the conflict is already ours to lose. This manufacturing gap triggered a series of ripple effects that amplified U.S. strengths exponentially. With ample Shermans in stock, American tank operators practiced on real machines. At Fort Knox in Kentucky, the Armored Force School allocated hundreds of Shermans exclusively for drills. Operators underwent 12 weeks covering every facet of their equipment. They unleashed countless ammunition volleys during target practice. They logged extensive mileage behind the wheel. They handled repairs so routinely that they could swap parts in the dark. Private First Class Clarence Smuyer, who prepared at Fort Knox in 1943, would later share, "We hammered those practice tanks relentlessly, pushed them to failure, repaired them, then ran them once more. When deployment arrived, I understood that vehicle more intimately than my own family's tractor back home. Every noise it emitted, its significance, every implement required for each repair." German Tiger crew preparation unfolded quite differently. Given peak output scarcely topping 100 units monthly, practice tanks were scarce. The Panzer School at Panzersdorf possessed precisely 4 Tigers for instructional use. Just 4 vehicles to prepare operators across all Wehrmacht Tiger formations. Gerhard Kurt Knispel, attached to Schwerpanzerabteilung 503, outlined his preparation. "We logged 3 days inside a genuine Tiger. Most of our regiment involved poring over blueprints and occupying faux wooden replicas. By the point our battalion got its Tigers in Russia, fully half the operators hadn't yet ignited a Maybach power plant. The intricacy gap worsened the issue. A Sherman featured 15,000 components and demanded 50 varied implements for on-site repairs. A Tiger boasted 26,000 elements and necessitated 230 dedicated instruments. U.S. operators attained foundational skill in 4 weeks. German Tiger teams required 3 months for bare-bones capability, a luxury the Wehrmacht simply lacked. Germany couldn't match that firepower. The invasion on D-Day, June 6, 1944, launched an industrial onslaught that crippled the Wehrmacht's panzer divisions. Allied forces hit the beaches with around 4,000 tanks, primarily Shermans, backed by another 8,000 ready to ship from England. In response, the Germans fielded their elite units. Across all theaters, they'd built 1,347 Tigers since 1942, but only about 430 remained battle-ready everywhere. In the Normandy sector alone, they scraped together just 102 of those beasts. An account from SS Obersturmführer name of the heavy SS Panzerabteilung 101 captured the grim truth on June 7th near Caen. "Our crew knocked out 8 Shermans during the morning clash. Come afternoon, 16 replacements rolled up. We took down 6 of them. By nightfall, new platoons kept pouring in. They swarmed like insects. Crush a few dozen, even hundreds, and thousands more followed. The true tale lay in how quickly they replenished. Lose a Sherman, and America shipped a fresh one from England in under 48 hours. Colonel Joseph Gillam's setup kept 2,300 Shermans stockpiled in UK warehouses. Battered vehicles got fixed on site by roving repair teams in mere hours, or got swapped for pristine models without hesitation. Destroy a Tiger, though, and Germany waited weeks or months for a substitute, if one even showed up. Those monsters needed custom rail transport. The trip from the fatherland to Normandy dragged on for 5 days in ideal scenarios. Allied bombers routinely stretched that to weeks. Out of 45 Tigers sent to the front in June 1944, merely 17 made it without a scratch. June 13, 1944, offered a sharp lens on the manufacturing showdown. Michael Wittmann's exploits at Villers-Bocage stand as a legendary feat in German armor tactics. In about 15 minutes, his unit obliterated 14 enemy tanks, 15 troop carriers, and 2 anti-tank pieces from Britain's 7th Armored Division. Debates rage among scholars over whether Wittmann soloed every kill or shared credit with his squadron, but Nazi hype hailed it as evidence of Teutonic dominance and Tiger supremacy. What got buried was the follow-up. In just 72 hours, the British 7th Armored Division restocked every lost machine from reserve pools. Wittmann's Tiger outfit, down 3 tanks in the ensuing battles, wouldn't see backups for 6 full weeks. Lieutenant Colonel John Cloudsley Thompson of the 7th Armored later noted, "Wittmann shone brightly, that's certain, but genius runs dry. Factory output doesn't. He outpaced our losses quicker than we could steep our tea, yet we outsupplied him before he could chamber another round." Output figures revealed only half the picture. Sustaining a Sherman meant a pipeline feeding 150 gallons of gas every 100 miles, 104 shells for the standard kit, 30 gallons of grease and fluids, extra tracks, wheels, filters, plus rations and gear for the 5-man team. U.S. supply chains executed this flawlessly. The Red Ball Express, humming from August through November 1944, mobilized 6,000 rigs shuttling nonstop from Normandy shores to the Spearhead. On August 29, 1944, alone, it hauled 12,342 tons of goods, 800,000 gallons of petrol, 3,000 tons of munitions, enough to equip 28 divisions. A Tiger, by contrast, guzzled 650 gallons every 60 miles, packed 92 rounds baseline, needed 100 gallons of oils and lubes, plus bespoke components forged solely in Germany and top-shelf fuel that grew rarer by the day. The Reich's transport network buckled. Advancing a Tiger battalion 100 miles demanded 40,000 gallons, often more than entire depots held. Its Maybach HL-230 P45 power plant craved high-octane stuff that production lines struggled to churn out. By fall 1944, Tiger formations stalled not from combat hits, but from parched tanks. Oberwachtmeister Wolfgang Schlick of Schwer Panzerabteilung 506 logged in August 1944. "We've got 6 working Tigers, fuel for maybe 30 kilometers. American convoys stream past our concealed spots in unbroken lines. We hold fire. We'd bag a dozen, maybe 2, then watch powerless as the hordes trailing them overran us. Shermans got built for quick fixes by green troops with minimal prep. Swap the gearbox in 4 hours flat, fix tracks in 90 minutes, pull an engine in 6, no part hid behind others for access." The angled plating, derided as weaker than the Tiger's slab-sided fortress, actually simplified repairs. Wrecked sections could get sliced away and riveted back by any skilled metalworker. Technical Sergeant Robert Early, top wrench for the 3rd Armored Division, put it plainly. The Sherman resembled an armored hay baler. Any farm boy who'd tinkered with his old man's John Deere could handle it. We stocked swaps for it all: motors, gearboxes, turrets, treads. Part fails? Undo the bolts, slap on a spare. We'd revive a crippled Sherman while the Krauts were still troubleshooting. Figuring out the problems with their Tigers was a real headache. Maintaining those beasts involved a tangled web of intricate procedures. The interleaved road wheel setup, ingeniously designed for better weight spread, demanded pulling off as many as 9 wheels just to swap out a single busted inner one, a full 12-hour ordeal even in perfect setups. The gearbox, an engineering marvel boasting 8 speeds ahead, called for expert equipment and skilled technicians for any major fix. The Maybach power plant, though mighty, was finicky and craved regular tuning. Feldwebel Hans Bauer, a Tiger technician serving with Schwer Panzerabteilung 502, summed up the harsh truth. "Back in Russia, our unit had a Tiger sidelined by gearbox trouble. The spare unit was stuck in Germany. It was 3 weeks before it showed up. Fitting it meant dismantling the turret. We required a 15-ton crane for the lift. None was on hand. The tank idled worthless for 2 months as Shermans rolled by daily." Come mid-1944, the raw numbers of manufacturing had sparked a chain reaction of shortages that Germany simply couldn't overcome. Every Tiger demanded a team of 5 elite experts. The commander needed at least 6 months of prep, the gunner 4 months in specialized drills, the loader 2 months, the driver 4 months on big rigs, and the radio operator, bow gunner, 3 months. Getting a full Tiger squad ready took 19 man-months of dedicated schooling. Yet Germany was hemorrhaging these crews quicker than replacements could graduate. The demolition of Tiger 007 close to St. Lo on August 8, 1944, which claimed Michael Wittmann and his entire team, wiped out 60 man-months of priceless expertise plus decades of battlefield savvy. The U.S. forces dodged any such bind. By 1944, Fort Knox was churning out 2,000 complete Sherman squads each month. The uniform Sherman design let any team hop into any model without a hitch. Injured members got swapped in from a reserve of 10,000 ready substitutes parked in England. Staff Sergeant Lafayette P., leading a Sherman dubbed In the Mood, captured the U.S. edge. We dropped our loader during St. Lo. In under 2 hours, a fresh guy stepped up, drilled on the identical tank type at Knox. He was familiar with every shell holder and switch. We kept right on rolling. If Normandy laid bare the sheer improbability of German success in numbers, the Eastern Front turned it into outright catastrophe. Operation Bagration, kicked off on June 22, 1944, exactly 3 years after Germany's assault on the USSR, unleashed 4,080 Soviet armored vehicles against Army Group Center's Mir 495, with only 29 Tigers battle-ready. Still, the Soviets had picked up tricks from U.S. assembly techniques. The rugged T-34, rough next to the Tiger, rolled off lines in 3 man-hours flat against the Tiger's 300,000. By summer 1944, Soviet plants were spitting out 2,000 T-34s per month. Knock out 3 Soviet rigs, and 5 more materialized. Take down 5, and 10 surged forward. Headman Ernst Lindermann from Schwerpanzerabteilung 5 jotted down the numerical nightmare. On July 5th, we took out 16 T-34s outside Minsk. The next day, July 6th, 22 extras showed. We bagged 11 on July 7th before 45 T-34s charged. We got 19 more till ammo ran dry. July 8th brought 60 T-34s, just 2 Tigers left running. We pulled back. The Soviets had embraced the American approach to bulk output. Numbers carry their own punch. Plus, they got 4,120 Shermans via Lend-Lease, over 3 times all Tigers ever produced. In Italy, the tight landscapes gave German tankers a stark look at U.S. factory power. Narrow spaces forced fights at short distances, dulling the Tiger's strengths. Worse, they witnessed Yankee resupply firsthand. During Monte Cassino, Oberleutnant Friedrich Buscher of Schwerpanzerabteilung 508 maintained a precise record. February 15th, 4 Shermans wrecked along Route 6. February 16th, 8 fresh ones in the spot, 3 downed. February 17th, a dozen Shermans pushing. February 18th, tally hits 22 Shermans, 4 Tigers active, 12 shells each. The mental toll was crushing. Gefreiter Helmut Wagner penned to his spouse, "We're like Sisyphus with that rock. Each Sherman we scrap gets doubled up. Kill their tanks like a reaper in the grain, but the crop sprouts anew by dawn." U.S. recovery units deepened the gloom. The 16th Armored Recovery Battalion snatched and fixed, battered Shermans quicker than Germans could log the hits. Captain Thomas Roberts of the 16th outlined their speed. We'd snag a burning Sherman come morning, drag it to base by midday, patch it up by dusk, and send it charging again at sunrise. Germans would chalk it as destroyed, only to tangle with it 3 days on. Those output figures turned into personal tales on U.S. shop floors. At the Detroit Tank Arsenal, laborers grasped their output's weight. A sign loomed over the line. "Every tank we build is a life saved." Mary Krivsky, a Polish newcomer on the line, the Detroit Arsenal exemplified the unyielding resolve of American manufacturing during the war. My sibling served in Italy alongside the initial armored units, and each Sherman tank I helped assemble could well have been the vehicle that returned him safely. During the Sicily campaign, our team pulled 16-hour days without a single grievance. Production lines hummed ceaselessly. The facility ran on 3 rotating shifts, operating non-stop around the clock every single day of the year. In December 1943, over 95% of staff opted for extra voluntary hours, even on Christmas. Employees who reported illness often got personal check-ins from co-workers to offer assistance if required. Absentee rates stayed under 2%, a sharp contrast to the 15% seen in German plants by the end of 1944. In contrast, German facilities contended with harsh conditions. Allied airstrikes repeatedly halted operations. The Henschel plant endured 39 bombings from October 1943 through March 1945. Every attack paused Tiger tank assembly for days or even weeks at a time. Experienced laborers were conscripted to fill frontline casualties. By late 1944, forced labor made up 40% of the staff, necessitating security measures that further hampered output. In November 1944, German overseer Friedrich Müller noted in his assessment that the Kassel works managed just 8 Tigers that month, 8 total. Meanwhile, U.S. factories churned out that quantity in a mere 4 hours. Here, coerced workers undermined efforts, while there, motivated employees pushed to exceed quotas. Such disparities in output sealed our inevitable edge. Sherman tanks operated on ordinary gasoline, with any rating between 70 and 85 octanes performing adequately. Their radial aviation power plants proved tolerant, dependable, and capable of handling virtually any combustible substance in a pinch. The U.S. enjoyed boundless petroleum resources. Texas output alone hit 100 million barrels in 1944, while Standard Oil processed 2 billion gallons of fuel each month. Tigers, however, demanded high-grade gasoline, at minimum 87 octanes, to keep the Maybach motor running smoothly. Germany's coal-to-liquid synthetic refineries yielded subpar fuel that wrecked machinery. By the close of 1944, training allocations for fuel vanished entirely. Fresh Tiger operators reached their battalions without a moment's practice behind the controls. The gap in fuel usage proved enormous. A Tiger guzzled 2.75 gallons per mile on highways and 5.5 gallons off-road. A Sherman, by comparison, used 0.5 gallons per mile paved and 1.2 gallons across rough terrain. Transporting a Tiger battalion 100 miles called for 15,000 gallons, whereas the same trek for a Sherman unit needed only 3,000. Otto von Westenhagen, leading the SS Panzer Battalion 101, described the dire predicament. On December 16th, as the Ardennes push began, my Tigers carried enough fuel for maybe 60 kilometers, yet the goals lay 200 kilometers ahead. Orders insisted we seize American supplies, but how could we advance to claim them without any? This folly stemmed from sheer despair. The Ardennes offensive in December 1944 delivered the ultimate numerical evidence of Germany's downfall. Hitler mustered his final reserves, 450 armored vehicles, among them 69 elite King Tigers for the Watch on the Rhine operation. Opposing them, the U.S. could field 8,000 tanks across Europe, plus another 6,000 held back for reserves or stateside preparation. Early German advances appeared to affirm the value of superior design over mass output. King Tigers from the 501st SS Heavy Panzer Battalion obliterated Shermans from over 2,000 meters away. Single Tigers tallied scores of enemy wrecks. Nazi broadcasts hailed the assault as validation of Teutonic ingenuity, yet sheer arithmetic regained dominance soon after. As Joachim Peiper's Kampfgruppe stalled for want of fuel outside La Glaise, fresh American armor streamed in from Antwerp storage. The 40 Shermans lost on December 17th were back in action by the 19th. Those 60 knocked out on the 18th returned by the 20th. General George Patton's Third Army wheeled northward on December 22nd with 350 Shermans. In just 48 hours, even after 88 fell to enemy guns, Patton commanded 400 working tanks. Incoming units outpaced the toll. Peiper, meanwhile, scuttled his entire Tiger force due to empty tanks, wrecking them to avoid handover. On March 6, 1945, the most documented armored clash of the conflict unfolded, a Pershing against a Panther outside Cologne Cathedral. Yet, just 500 meters off, an unnoticed tableau spoke volumes that lenses ignored. 11 disabled Shermans littered the plaza, felled by one Panther across 2 days. Still, in under a day, 15 replacements rolled in to claim the area. The Panther, battered and ammo dry, got left behind by its operators. This pattern, local German triumphs yielding broader American gains via volume, echoed throughout the collapsing Reich. Feldwebel Gustav Schreiner, that Panthers loader, outlasted the conflict and later mused, "Our battalion took out 258 foes, mainly Shermans, an outstanding tally. They swapped in 258 more in about a week. We forfeited 12 Panthers and got just 2 new ones over 6 months. Each battlefield win edged us nearer to overall collapse." Deeper still, the manpower figures painted an equally grim picture. The U.S. prepared 250's armored personnel over the war years. Germany mustered around 40 outnumbered Tigers and Panthers together. American losses meant 5 ready substitutes lingered in warehouses. German Tiger teams, once gone, left irreplaceable skills behind. Gone for good. Sergeant Joe Saunders from the 2nd Armored Division highlighted the key U.S. edge. Our forces were aware of the 50 additional Shermans waiting in reserve. Should our vehicle take a hit, we'd evacuate, retreat on foot, secure a replacement, and rejoin the battle. The Germans realized that every Tiger destroyed couldn't be substituted. This awareness that we could sustain casualties while they couldn't secured the mental victory. As the conflict advanced, the gap in crew expertise grew. Come March 1945, U.S. tank operators typically underwent 6 months of preparation prior to deployment. For German Tiger teams, assuming they even got the machines, instruction lasted about 2 weeks on average. 16-year-old lads were piloting 68-ton King Tigers they'd encountered just days before. Gerrit Wilhelm Hoffmann, who drove for Schrey Panzer Teilung 512, recounted his preparation. "I'd handled a truck during Hitler Youth Service. They allowed me 4 days in a Panzer IV, then assigned me to a King Tiger. Our leader had worked as a shop assistant only 2 months prior. The loader had practiced with 5 shots. We confronted U.S. personnel who'd drilled for a full year. The core disparity wasn't in performance, but in approach. Germany chased flawless design. Every Tiger represented a work of art. Its 88mm cannon could eliminate any enemy tank from 2,000 meters away. The plating repelled most opposing projectiles. The advanced gearbox ensured seamless propulsion. The overlapping road wheels spread the load ideally. The U.S. focused on manufacturing speed. Each Sherman proved sufficient. Its 75mm weapon faltered versus Tiger protection. The hull fell prey to German firepower. The drivetrain stayed straightforward. The setup for movement was elementary yet effective, and the nation could assemble 36 Shermans for the price of a single Tiger. William Knudsen, witnessing Sherman assembly in 1943, captured the U.S. mindset. Superiority in specs doesn't define the top tank. It's the one available right when required. One Sherman on French soil outvalues 10 ideal prototypes still in sketches. Albert Speer, the Reich's armaments chief, grasped this far too late. In his 1969 recollections, he noted, "Our quest for excellence brought stagnation. Each upgrade postponed output. Every alteration demanded fresh machinery." In contrast, the Americans churned out identical core designs in vast quantities. Victory came via sheer volume, not innovation. Shermans reached 90% uptime. In a group of 100, 90 stayed functional daily. Breakdowns occurred infrequently and got fixed swiftly. The uncomplicated components seldom malfunctioned. Repairs drew from plentiful spares with ample technicians. Tigers hit just 35% reliability by late 1944. From 100 in a formation, if such a number existed, only 35 operated. Elaborate mechanisms broke down repeatedly. The intricate gearbox endured 500 meters before needing overhaul. The nested wheels trapped dirt that iced over in Russian cold, stranding the vehicle until cleared. Major Hans Kruger, who oversaw upkeep for Schrey Panzer Abteilung 503, recorded the dire situation. January 1945. From 45 Tigers available, 11 combat-ready, 8 pending gearboxes, 6 awaiting power plants, 12 needing suspension fixes, 8 suffering various issues. We stripped parts from 3 to sustain 1. U.S. troops ditched wrecked Shermans and drew fresh units. By spring 1945, American output delivered more than figures. It granted operational flexibility. Leaders could devise plans confident in instant replenishments for attrition. They traded vehicles for goals. They treated Shermans as disposable tools. General Omar Bradley put it plainly. "We anticipated sacrificing 4 Shermans per Tiger downed, yet we held 10 Shermans per their 1. The equation was straightforward. We could handle the swap. They couldn't." German leaders grappled with tactical gridlock. Each Tiger gone shrank their options ahead. Every mission demanded weighing if gains offset permanent setbacks. By March 1945, directives barred Tiger groups from combat except in dire need. Major General Wolfgang Lang, leading the leftover forces of Panzer Division, summed up the bind. "My area had 8 Tigers against 900 Shermans. Exposing my Tigers' spots invited shelling and bombing to wipe them out. Holding them back let Shermans steamroll through. We ended up observing our downfall from inside viewfinders." Upon Germany's capitulation on May 8, 1945, the manufacturing counts revealed the full picture. German output: Tiger 1 347 built from August 1942 to August 1944. Tiger 2, King Tiger, 489 to 492, made from January 1944 through March 1945. Overall Tigers around 39. U.S. output, M4 Sherman across all types, 49,034 from February 1942 to July 1945, plus over 2,000 more from British and Canadian plants. Total Allied Shermans exceeding 51,000. The proportion, 27.7 Shermans per Tiger. Yet numbers alone didn't capture it all. The true field conditions, May 1945 saw fewer than 20 Tigers active in the Wehrmacht, roughly 35,000 Shermans operational globally. Crew preparation. Fewer than 200 skilled German Tiger tank operators were on hand. In contrast, over 40,000 experienced American Sherman crews were ready. A 1975 gathering at Fort Knox united tank veterans from both the U.S. and Germany. Their discussions highlighted the profound impact of manufacturing figures on the conflict. Otto Arias, Germany's runner-up in tank aces with more than 150 victories, shared his thoughts openly. "We weren't battling Americans. We were up against numbers. I'd take out 10 Shermans, and 20 more would roll in. It wasn't warfare. It was equations. We were like accountants, struggling to counter a flood with personal prowess." Staff Sergeant Clyde Brunson, who'd led Shermans across 3 armored units after losing 2 beneath him, replied, "Otto's spot on. We realized few of us were elite aces. That wasn't required. What mattered was being sufficient in large numbers. Conflicts are decided by assembly lines, not lone champions." The most touching exchange happened when ex-Oberst Hans von Luck questioned the American survivors. "Were you aware, did you grasp that your sheer volume would overpower us no matter our expertise?" Sergeant Ray Hopkins responded, "Absolutely. Replacement bases we drove by brimmed with fresh Shermans, hundreds of them. Letters from back home always noted factories humming on triple shifts. We understood you were clashing with America's full industrial might. We nearly pitied your situation. U.S. mass manufacturing generated waves far beyond mere counts. With surplus Shermans by the thousands, the nation could experiment freely. New specialized models emerged every month. The Sherman Firefly with its British 17-pounder cannon, the Sherman Jumbo, beefed up with additional plating, the Sherman Calliope, fitted with rocket tubes, the Sherman Crab for mine clearing with flails, the amphibious Sherman DD, the Sherman Dozer equipped with a blade, and the Sherman Crocodile, armed with a flame projector. Meanwhile, Germany struggled to churn out even basic Tigers, much less adaptations. Every prototype tweak siphoned off tanks from the front lines. The Sturm Tiger project, repurposing Tigers into heavy assault vehicles, yielded just 18 units, a wasteful drain on vital supplies. The logistics gap was stark in spare parts alone. U.S. storage sites held 50,000 unique Sherman components. Any piece could reach frontline troops in under 72 hours. German Tiger squads endured months-long delays for essentials, frequently stripping working vehicles to patch up the rest. Technical Sergeant Mike Kozlowski, overseeing an advanced supply point in Belgium, recounted the U.S. plenty. "Our depots overflowed with gear, engines, gearboxes, cannons, treads, you name it. A request came in, we'd pack a vehicle and dispatch it. I discarded excess spares due to overcrowding more than what German outfits ever got." American crews operated in a world apart from their German foes. They understood fresh tanks were abundant. Survival trumped bold wins. They could play it safe without worry. Private First Class. Clarence Smuyer captured the mindset. Our platoon leader laid it out plainly. "Your role is to stay alive and push on. Spot a Tiger, summon shells from artillery or planes. Skip the heroics. They get you killed. We've got tanks to spare over skilled drivers. Preserve yourselves and we'll supply the rides." German Tiger operators grappled with the reverse strain. Every Tiger was one of a kind. Each team was invaluable, yet they pushed into lopsided fights, chasing kill tallies that stats rendered pointless. Feldwebel Karl Broman, a gunner in Schwerpanzerabteilung 502, detailed the mental toll. "We recognized the need to eliminate 10, 20, even 30 foes to validate our Tiger's worth. The stress crushed us. We weren't warriors. We were bookkeepers, tallying if we'd offset our equipment's cost." Underpinning those output stats was the backbone infrastructure that sealed fates. American plants escaped enemy strikes entirely. Facilities in Detroit, Chicago, and Pittsburgh ran full throttle, untouched by air raids. Employees showed up refreshed, nourished, and driven. Supplies arrived steadily. Inspections nixed flaws before vehicles shipped out. German operations faced relentless peril. The Henschel facility in Kassel endured 39 bombings. The MAN plant in Nuremberg took 27 hits. Staff hunkered in bunkers overnight, then shoveled debris by day. Inputs trickled in as Allied raids crippled railroads. Standards slipped with fatigued staff and forced labor-fumbling tasks. Hans Müller, overseer at Henschel, recorded the domino failures. October 1944. The previous bombing wrecked the annealing plant. Tiger hull plating heads to Essen, if rails function. But Essen got pounded Tuesday. Backups Dortmund struck Thursday. We've got 200 Tiger bodies short on armor. Maybe 20 finish this month. U.S. output dodged such hurdles. The Fisher Tank Arsenal in Grand Blanc, Michigan, ran smoothly with 4,500 staff in total security. They clocked standard hours, resided in cozy homes, and dined on wholesome meals in mess halls. Kids went to classes, families browsed full shelves at markets. Mass productions, the introduction of innovative manufacturing techniques, gave the Allies a learning curve edge that Germany simply couldn't replicate. With each batch of 1,000 Shermans rolling off the lines, the per-unit expense dropped by 8%. Enhancements in production methods rolled out across every facility at the same time. Come 1944, the Detroit Arsenal was assembling Shermans at a pace 60% quicker than back in 1942, all while employing a smaller workforce. In his review of output efficiency, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Young highlighted how employee ideas kept boosting productivity non-stop. For instance, a female steelworker spotted that tweaking the welding order could shave off 4 minutes for each tank. Once adopted plant-wide, this tweak reclaimed 3,300 labor hours each month, sufficient to construct 40 extra Shermans. On the flip side, German manufacturing exhibited inverted learning trends. As skilled laborers got conscripted, workmanship suffered. With supplies dwindling, makeshift alternatives snarled the assembly process. And as Allied air raids escalated, operations scattered to modest sites, eroding overall productivity. The time to produce a Tiger ballooned from 300,000 man-hours in 1942 to 450,000 by the close of 1944. Consequently, every Tiger grew pricier and more time-intensive to fabricate as the conflict dragged on, a stark contrast to the U.S. approach. The Tiger's edge in tech hid steep drawbacks. Its intricate Maybach power plant demanded 120 exclusive components just for Tigers. The elaborate gearbox called for custom machinery. Even the cannon's accuracy necessitated meticulous upkeep. Each perk amplified the intricacy. In contrast, the Sherman's straightforward design proved its real asset. The Ford G-Toa motor utilized components interchangeable with those in trucks. Its gearbox stemmed from an altered truck blueprint, the main armament adapted from an existing anti-aircraft piece. All elements were battle-tested, dependable, and fixable using everyday equipment. Master Sergeant Tom Williams, who serviced Shermans in the 4th Armored Division, put it this way: "We patched up Shermans using bits from trucks, Jeeps, you name it. Short on a fuel pump, a truck one did the trick. Electrical components lacking, Jeep alternator slotted right in. But Tigers required precise replacements from designated plants. We made do with anything functional." U.S. manufacturing dominance forged mental armaments surpassing mere quantities. Captive German tank operators were intentionally paraded through vast U.S. tank depots brimming with hundreds of fresh Shermans. They inspected workshops where wrecked vehicles underwent rapid overhauls in mere hours. They observed the nonchalant squandering of supplies, signaling boundless stockpiles. Headman Friedrich Schultz, taken prisoner after his Tiger fell near Aachen, recounted his visit to a supply base. They displayed 500 brand-new Shermans ready for drivers. The U.S. officer mentioned they got 500 more every month for this front alone. At that moment, I realized every Tiger we'd knocked out was futile. It was like scooping an ocean with thimbles. These detainees, repatriated via swaps or breakouts, carried back this crushing reality to Germany, eroding spirits among panzer crews drilling on the scant surviving Tigers. Their first-hand accounts, far more trustworthy than leaflets, shattered resolve. By the harsh winter of 1944-45, the upkeep gap had turned insurmountable. U.S. outfits held 90% readiness amid fierce fights and foul conditions. German Tiger outfits barely scraped 20% uptime, even absent engagements. The 56th Heavy Tank Battalion's log from January 1945 paints the picture. Roster of 45 King Tigers, running, 8, in the shop 37. Among them 12 Crave engines, 0 on hand. 15 await gearboxes, only 2 in stock. 10 demand assorted parts, none forthcoming. Scavenging from wrecks greenlit to scrape together bare minimum fighters. In parallel, the 37th Tank Battalion of the 4th Armored Division logged 53 Shermans total, 51 battle-ready, 2 under fix, done by dusk. Spare tanks queued in storage, 15 fresh operators on deck, plus 3 full teams and sundry experts. The spring of 1945 delivered the crowning proof of industrial arithmetic. As U.S. troops forded the Rhine, they discarded hundreds of battered Shermans deemed too trivial to mend amid plentiful substitutes. Fuel-starved German units, tank-deprived, scrambled to salvage and refurbish those forsaken hulls for their arsenal. The reversal was total. The Wehrmacht, which ignited the war banking on tech prowess, devolved to looting faux vehicles it formerly scorned as subpar. Tigers, overly finicky sans home base support, got ditched over fuel shortages or basic fixes. Shermans, sturdy and uncomplicated, found new life in German hands. Obus Wilhelm Müller, leading a ragtag defense unit at Nuremberg, captured the ultimate disgrace. My outfit includes 3 Tigers, 1 functional, 8 seized and repaired Shermans, 12 assault guns, and assorted trucks. The Yankee machines prove simpler to service than ours. We're battling Yanks using their own iron. The conflict wrapped not in epic clashes of armor, but with U.S. convoys rolling by forsaken German hulks. Tigers lurked roadside, drained of petrol, shells, and spares. Their operators, history's elite tank warriors, wandered away. Troops trudged back to their lines in utter despair. Columns of Sherman tanks advanced across Germany, with every destroyed vehicle swiftly substituted from the ceaseless influx arriving at Atlantic harbors. The operators, well prepared and completely assured of their logistical support, scarcely noticed the forsaken German behemoths. As General Dwight Eisenhower inspected the conquered territories, he remarked, "We did not overcome German tanks. We outmatched German manufacturing. Each Tiger represented a battlefield triumph that drained their overall strength. Every Sherman we forfeited was restored before they could tally their successes. The ultimate tally exposed the real equation of triumph, output velocity. Tiger required 300,000 to 450,000 man-hours per unit. Sherman demanded 17,000 to 48,000 man-hours per unit, adjusted from prior low estimates ratio. The effort for 1 Tiger matched 6 to 26 Shermans. Expense breakdown. Tiger priced at 250,000 to 300,000 Reichsmarks in 1945 figures. Sherman ranged from 44,556 to 64,455 in August 1945, official U.S. Army catalog values. Straightforward equivalence challenging owing to wartime economic distortions. Fuel usage, Tiger at 2.75 gallons per mile on roads. Sherman at 0.5 gallons per mile on roads. Proportion, 1 Tiger's fuel needs matched 5.5 Shermans. Upkeep demands. Tiger needed 10 hours of repairs for every 1 hour in action. Sherman required 1 hour of maintenance for 10 hours of operation. Proportion, 1 Tiger's servicing equaled 100 Shermans. Crew preparation duration, Tiger minimum of 19 man-months, Sherman standard of 5 man-months. Proportion, 1 Tiger team's training spanned 4 Sherman teams. After the war, reviews by American and German commanders arrived at identical insights. The Tiger might have been World War II's premier tank regarding solo performance. The Sherman proved merely sufficient in direct armored clashes, yet conflicts aren't decided by singular prowess. They hinge on overarching dominance. In the official U.S. Army Chronicle, Colonel Robert Cameron asserted, "The Sherman thrived not in spite of its averageness, but thanks to it. Its straightforward design allowed for vast output. Its dependability supported non-stop missions. Its uniformity facilitated quick substitutions. The Tiger faltered not in spite of its superiority, but on account of it. Its intricacy hindered large-scale fabrication, its fickle disposition lowered combat availability. Its singularity blocked replenishment. General Major Friedrich von Mellenthin, dissecting Germany's downfall, stated it more concisely. We constructed 1,947 Tigers. They produced 49,134 Shermans. All else amounts to elaboration. Beneath those output figures hid the human toll that laid bare the real burden of Germany's emphasis on excellence over volume. Tiger operators, aware their vehicles couldn't be swapped, battled until the end instead of deserting them. From roughly 8,000 German Tiger personnel, under Tüsen made it through the war, yielding a 75% loss rate. Sherman operators, certain of abundant spares, easily left behind impaired machines. From about 250,000 American tank personnel prepared, 600 perished in battle, a 2.6% loss rate. The manufacturing approach that appeared to prioritize equipment over personnel, in fact, preserved lives via perfusion. Sergeant John Irwin, whose 3 Shermans were knocked out beneath him, described the U.S. edge. We learned tanks were disposable, personnel were not. Evacuate quickly, hike back, claim a fresh one. The Germans treated their Tigers as if forged from gold, for to them they might as well have been. They perished in efforts to protect gear. We endured by forsaking it. The manufacturing contest pitting Tigers against Shermans forged doctrines that influenced post-conflict armed forces strategy. The United States demonstrated that factory might constituted the supreme armament. The capacity to fabricate, deliver, and renew gear more rapidly than foes could eliminate it offset combat shortcomings. The Soviet Union, witnessing U.S. achievements, embraced comparable volume fabrication tactics for the Cold War. The T-54-55 evolved into history's most manufactured tank, exceeding 100,000 units, twice the Sherman tally. Ease, dependability, and volume defined Soviet armored strategy. Germany, drawing from its losses, forsook elaborate ideals for workable adequacy. Post-war Leopard series stressed durability and simple servicing above peak power. German manufacturing, reconstructed via U.S. occupation lessons, emerged as Europe's industrial leader. During the 1985 Fort Knox gathering, fighters from opposing forces delivered their ultimate judgment on the Tiger-Sherman contention. Otto Arias, the German tank ace, offered maybe the frankest evaluation. The Tiger stood as a work of art. In one-on-one duels, it would vanquish any wartime tank. But wars aren't duels. The Sherman served as an instrument of factories, and factories secured the victory. We dispatched Shermans like mowing weeds, yet the weeds regrew quicker than our blades could manage. That reflects not the Tiger's shortcoming or the Sherman's triumph. It embodies the essence of mechanized conflict. Sergeant Wardell Henderson, who led 5 distinct Shermans across France and perspectives from Germany, incorporating the viewpoint from the U.S. I had no desire to confront a Tiger directly. In a straight duel, we'd get beaten consistently. Yet we avoided those isolated clashes. Instead, our engagements involved 5 or 10 against 1, backed by cannon fire, aerial assistance, and fresh replacements in reserve. The Tiger stood out as the superior armored vehicle. The Sherman, however, proved to be the victor's choice. I'd take survival as a victor in a Sherman any day over perishing as a legendary figure in a Tiger. These days, refurbished Tigers fetch millions in sales. Just 7 operational ones remain across the globe. Refurbished Shermans go for mere tens of thousands. Hundreds continue to operate on continents everywhere. The gap in manufacturing output endures even among collectors. Over at the Patton Museum in Fort Knox, a Tiger Y is displayed next to an M4A3 Sherman. The sign explains, Tiger I, among one of 347 manufactured. This model took out roughly 40 enemy Allied machines. Sherman M4A3, one of 49 of 234 built. Vehicles like this freed Europe from occupation. No statement captures the equation of triumph more starkly. Back in 1989, Friedrich Schultz, once a Tiger leader, revisited Normandy to mark the 45th commemoration of D-Day. Positioned in the U.S. memorial overlooking Omaha Beach, he addressed the gathered former soldiers. Our forces arrived equipped with the finest tanks on Earth, utterly confident in our edge. Yours showed up with reliable enough armor backed by vast forces. Our approach emphasized skill and precision. Yours relied on sheer calculation. In combat, calculation prevails every time. We assembled 1-347 Tigers. You produced 49-234 Shermans. Those figures aren't mere data points. They represent the divide between tyranny and freedom, between limitation and plenty, between loss and success. The audience, veterans from America, Britain, Canada, and Germany, listened without a sound. The core principle of warfare's numbers had been distilled to its purest form. Though Germany engineered the top tank of World War II, America manufactured the greatest quantity. Within the logic of mass production battles, volume triumphs over excellence without fail. The German Tiger embodied a pinnacle of design, a tribute to innovative prowess, an emblem of prioritizing precision against mass output. Yet it also marked a tactical blunder, a drain on vital assets, and in the end, a reminder of how battlefield advantages can't surmount manufacturing deficits. The American Sherman represented a practical trade-off, an acceptable fix, a success of efficient sourcing rather than flawless ideals. Above all, it secured the conflict, crafted a grand strategy, and stood as evidence of how democratic industry wields unstoppable force. Germany crafted 1,147 Tiger tanks, every unit a stunning feat of machinery poised to rule any field it entered. In response, America churned out 49,234 Shermans, overwhelming the Third Reich under a flood of serviceable vehicles manned by amply provisioned operators. The totals reveal the full narrative. As Melanchthon observed, everything beyond that is simply elaboration. Ultimately, the showdown between Tiger and Sherman transcended hardware entirely. It hinged on approaches to manufacturing, output capabilities, and the calculations driving contemporary conflict. Germany surrendered the war amid the assembly halls of Detroit well prior to any defeats across Europe's fronts. Their downfall stemmed not from enhanced machinery, but from sheer proliferation, not from unmatched standards, but from dominant volume, not from operational brilliance, but from overarching strategy rooted in numbers. The Tiger endures as an icon of Teutonic ingenuity. The Sherman symbolizes Yankee industrial might. Still, the 49,134 to 1,347 disparity stands as the sole metric that counted. It serves as irrefutable evidence that in mechanized combat, the production line outmatches the artisan's workshop without exception.